Hey folks, hope you guys are having a good one. It's an interesting... Sometimes you run into problems. I had one piece planned. My foot switch that's supposed to control me switching through a bunch of different loops decided it wasn't going to work today. So instead of triggering the loop to start over again, what it was doing was jumping down to the next line in the software. So I had to come up with something new, but that's okay, because all this is improvised anyway. Should have done more tracks of just this like huge reverb drone. You could also do like something like this, where you do, this is cool. This is a cool effect. You do a wah. I'm turning it down a little bit. It's pretty loud. Wah, 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 wah. So I got the crybaby there. Let's put it on a little bit cleaner channel. Do them both. Here we go. That kind of quacky sound. You even make it even quackier. Kill that real quick. Anyway, hope you guys are having a good day. Today's official topic is marketing, so I'm gonna transition over to that in a better camera angle. I realize like you can't see the controller from this angle, so I need to come up with a better camera angle where you can see like all the stuff I'm doing over here. Oh, like triggering. Here we go. Watch, we can trigger something real quick. Turn that off. We'll trigger that. Trigger that one. Turn it up a bit here. So I can go over to, let's go to this this one, and I can actually play it a little bit. Let's turn way down low. I'm not sure what key I put it in, but yeah. So you can actually play it just like a keyboard there, which is pretty fun. Then I mostly do a lot of session stuff, like I can turn that one off, or trigger a new loop, or even play some drums here. And then turn this on record. There it goes. Whatever you want to do there. It's all fun. All right. Kill it. Okay. Yeah, give me just a second here. put the wizard hat somewhere. Put it over there for now. Boop, boop, boop. Bring it down here. There we go. Then put the guitar up real quick. Give me a second. Okay. All right, let's get back to it, shall we? Get back to it. Put that there. Put this over here. That way I can see the chat like really easy. Right here. Okay. We are going to talk a little bit about marketing today. This is the number one thing that I get asked to talk about. It's like, hey, can you give me advice on marketing? How does marketing work? What do you know about book marketing? What do you think about what this guy says about, this other guy over here says about book marketing? It's a really frequently asked topic, so I thought I'd do a whole stream on it where I can have the live interactive chat and we can really dig into what I talk about with marketing and I guess how you should have good expectations and what you need to be doing in order to sell your work. Because most of the time what people mean by marketing is how do I get people to buy my book? How do I get people to buy my stuff? And that's a really hard question to ask, and there's no certain conclusion. There's no definite way that you're going to be successful with marketing. First, let me answer a question in the chat. Hey, David, do you know Brian Niemeyer's email? He gave it during a stream, but I lost it where I wrote it down. If I could avoid going through that entire stream, that would be great. I don't know it off the top of my head, but it'll be on his website, brianniemeyer.com. And you can contact him through that. So that's what I would recommend. By the way, channel memberships are enabled now. So if you don't want to do the Patreon thing, but you still want to get some benefits from a membership, channel memberships are now live. It's all the same memberships as the Patreon, which I'm going to link real quick here. So basically, Patreon setup, you'll get free books every month, some exclusive chats, access to the Discord server. And you should be able to get that with YouTube as well, but the YouTube integration is not quite as easy to figure out. So I don't have a great set of instructions for somebody asked, hey, I joined, but I don't know how to get onto the Discord server. Discord is supposed to give you the option, but I think it may be a slightly hidden option. So I will investigate and work on a definite conclusion for how to do that. Otherwise, if you're a member either on Patreon or whatever, and you want to be on the Discord server, no one's really on it yet. Just send me an email and I'll make you a custom invite that'll just get you on the server. And we'll just do it that way. It's supposed to all be automated and integrated, but there's always little hiccups with technology like this. What is the private community Discord? It is just a way to, be connected with other people that are in the same, same kind of area of what you may be doing and what I'm doing. So that's going to be creative stuff, writing and music. If you want direct access for advice from me or from other people, then that Discord server is a great way to get it. So that's what's going to be there. You get the higher tiers, you get a free book every month. With the YouTube one, you get access to the audiobook for Keys to Prolific Creativity, and you can get the ebook as well. But ebook integration is not really there on YouTube yet, so that's why that's not all set up. But what I should be able to do every month is send people, all the members, boom, here's an email that has your book funnel links to go grab a free ebook. So we'll have rotating free ebooks. I think I'm doing 2 right now on Patreon. I don't know if did I do the second one? I didn't do the second one. I'm going to put Eyes on the Walls up as a free second book to kind of lead this off because I think it's a really good book. It's October, good month for, horror stuff. So I think that'll be a good one to look at for that. So anyway, channel memberships are up. So is Patreon. Good way to get extra value and extra access to me. The higher tiers include stuff like masterclass access that we'll do every month. That'll be Patreon or patrons and members only. I haven't set one up for this month. I'll probably do one towards the end of the month, closer to Halloween, so that there's more people who could participate. If anyone, if it's like 2 people who show up, then it's 2 people and we'll have a good time. And we'll figure it out that way. But, you know, it takes a while to get the momentum going for stuff like this, especially when I've taken so long away from doing Patreon. I didn't do Patreon for several years. I turned it off because I just felt like I couldn't offer the value. And I was creating deadlines for myself that were really stressful to meet. You know, it's like I'm going to make these extra videos, and it's like may not have the time to make those extra videos. Instead, what we're doing with Patreon now is I am basically allowing people to pay me for stuff that they want me to do anyway, and that I like to do for them anyway, which is give writing advice, what I'm going to talk about with this stream, marketing advice, or anything else under the sun from my experiences as a writer and a musician. So anyway, that is what we'll be doing with that. Let me check the chat real quick. Had a 2-hour power nap, feeling much better. That's awesome. I have to take naps out of necessity because my kids have had like the most bizarre sleeping schedule lately, where they are just basically my daughter won't go to sleep till like 2 a.m. Like this happened, I think, Monday night. My daughter didn't go to sleep until like 2 in the morning. And then as soon as I got her down, I went and worked a little bit because I needed to get some work done for all the things that I do. And then my son woke up. So I stayed up with him until like 7 or 8 in the morning and then had to grab a nap. So that sort of stuff, you know, comes up. So I have to take naps out of necessity. This is a cozy Wednesday stream. It's kind of rainy where I'm at, which is just fantastic. I may open the windows a little bit. Which of the 3 do you prefer? I'm still just over Subscribestar. Don't even have over on Subscribestar. Don't even have a Patreon. Well, it doesn't matter. I guess Patreon has slightly better integrations for the ebooks. So if you're interested in getting the ebooks really easily, Patreon will have that. As I continue to build this up, you'll have like free streaming of the music, free ebooks, free audiobooks. All that stuff will be able to be gotten really easily on Patreon. But because BookFunnel integrates with Patreon so easily, that's what I did in the past, and that's probably what I'll do now. Of course, now I can just put the ebook onto Patreon. No need for an integration unless you're wanting like a really obscure format, like, you know, but BookFunnel does that. So I'm probably keep the BookFunnel for a while, at least for that element. You know what I mean? And we can continue to develop it as we go from there. So I guess I prefer Patreon, but YouTube makes it really simple. And I can pretty much offer all the same benefits through YouTube, including ebooks. It's just a couple extra steps for the members for me to like give them, you know, send them a link for ebooks and stuff like that. Do you get more money from super chats on YouTube or a YouTube membership if I only donate sporadically? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. YouTube takes a set percentage. I'm trying to remember what it is. And I think it's the same for memberships or not. Memberships are a way to get more stuff from me, though. Like memberships, you're not just giving me money, right? You get something for it. So if you look at all the tiers on Patreon, we'll just go through them real quick. So, you know, the membership tier. So a plebeian, $1 a month, you just get access to the Patreon only posts. That's if someone wants to do $1 a month. The low tier is $5 a month, which is access to the Discord. Patreon only streams. I'm going to do at least one of those a month. It'll be Patreon and YouTube members. And then I'll do an AMA chat as part of that as well. Free copy of Keys to Prolific Creativity if you don't have it. So whenever you join, you'll get that. And so you get an access to that. Patrician at $15 a month, you get live masterclass attendance. So when I am doing a music masterclass or something like that, or a writing one, you can show up and ask questions. That'll be basically, you know, members only. And you get the Keys to Prolific Creativity book and a free ebook every month rotating, plus the, Discord and all that kind of stuff. As it goes up from there, Senator, you get a paperback every month, plus the ebook. Console, which is $50. I don't have anyone who wants that yet. You get to participate in the masterclass, which means you get a lesson that other people get to ask questions about. Tetrarch at $100 a month. You get all that stuff, plus you get a free half-hour private lesson with nobody watching for whatever you want every month. Plus, I'll mail you a paperback. Obviously, if you pick those higher tiers, I have to have your address to mail a paperback. That should be given. So if you don't trust YouTube or whoever to have your address, then that's probably not going to be the tier for you, right? And then the highest tier, which you can only get through Patreon, you can't get it through YouTube. That's Emperor, $200 a month. It gets all that stuff, plus extra lessons, plus I'll design a book cover for you if you want, and signed paperback every month instead of just a regular paperback. So it just goes up from there. You get something for your money. It's not just like a gimme money kind of thing. Sound Engraver's getting married next Saturday. Congratulations, and bless you. I'm saving every cent is going to my wedding next Saturday. That's good. Weddings, I feel like this is not, I'm trying to not make this a rant because we all have done this. Weddings have gotten really expensive over the past however many years. And I remember when me and my wife got married, we're like, let's keep it simple and let's keep it cheap. And we still spent, I don't even want to say, we spent a lot of money, and we were like, I don't know how we could have done this any cheaper without being really cheap. Like going, okay, well, our reception's in the public park and we are going to barbecue hamburgers, right? Like we had a reception at an actual reception hall and blah, blah, blah. And it was expensive. The photography was expensive. Everything was expensive. If I look at it, the best investment was probably the photography, because you have like a record of it. And bad wedding photography is really bad. Like we hired our first wedding, we hired someone to do it, and then he did some engagement shoots and we hated him. So we hired someone else, a friend of my cousin. It worked out much better. So it's an interesting thing though. Like my mom's generation even, they spent a lot less on weddings than we do now. And I'm not sure how culturally we got this wedding thing built up. But anyway, weddings have gotten expensive. I don't really know. And then when you're done like paying for it and planning it and doing it, you're like, where'd all the money go? You're like, oh yeah, we paid a florist to put flowers here. My brother and sister-in-law got married very, quote, very cheaply, and it still cost them thousands of dollars. It's just an interesting thing that, and when I think about young people getting married, I'm not trying to make this too ranty, but like, you're pretty short on money usually when you're getting married because you're young. Being young usually means being poor at this time in the world. My parents had a pretty cheap wedding, pretty simple wedding compared to like what we had. And we considered ours cheap. So I think it's just like the expectations for like a bigger, crazier wedding have just gone up and up and up over the years. And that's what I guess is the problem. I don't know if it's even that much of a problem because people really love their weddings. It's like a big party and they really enjoy throwing that party. But yeah, like when you're done, you're like, where did all the money go? I don't even know what I spent it on. You spend it on a million little things that just add up tremendously. And we didn't even really have a honeymoon, I guess, because we couldn't spare the expense of going on a big trip at that point in time. We had done the wedding. We had bought a house the same week that we got married. Maybe we shouldn't have done that, but like, that's what we did. And so we kind of were gun shy on the whole money thing. You know what I mean? Thank you. It's the photographer and caterer. Yeah. And if you can get under 30 people to attend, it's perfect. We budgeted half the average cost, which I'm proud of. It's still some coin. Yeah. Ours was like, the average wedding costs this. And we're like, we got to do it for way less. And we still went over budget because of certain things. Like we paid extra money for like an open bar. I didn't want anybody to feel like they couldn't get a drink at my wedding. So I shelled out the extra money for the open bar. And I feel like I got my money's worth out of it. There were some drinkers that showed up at my wedding. But we had fun. We had to pay for a gluten-free cake. Instead of like really expensive catering, like we had food that the catering hall did, but for dessert, like we did a candy bar, really cheap. And people loved it, That's like, what's for dessert? It's like whatever candy you want, spending $50 on candy or $100 on candy was like more candy than anyone could eat, and people loved it. They're like, oh man, I want this. I want to have a candy bar. Like, people are excited to have free candy. It's like Halloween, you know? So that worked out really good. I'm trying to think what else. You know, you had a DJ or something. I didn't have a live performer. This was kind of a sad thing to me, was like, I looked around at all my friends and I was like, there's virtually no one I would hire to play at my wedding. I look kind of like an old wizard with this like underlighting. You know, there's like a monitor right under my face lighting me. It's like, I look a little bit mysterious. Anyway. All right. Topic at hand. Boop, boop, boop. Let's talk about book marketing. Book marketing is dead. Book marketing is dead. What I mean by that is all the old methods for getting people to see your book, buy it, and get the next person to buy it, they're all short-circuiting, and they're all kind of faltering. And the reason is because a lot of the old strategies for book marketing had to do with trying to game the algorithm. Basically trying to get robots to do what you want them to fool them into selling your book. And the robots are not as functional, and maybe they've gotten a little smarter too, I don't know. But a lot of those methods don't work. So the old method that people used was they would come out with a book and they would spend advertising money. They'd advertise to sell the book up to a certain level, and then Amazon would continue showing that book to lots of people because other people had bought it. So eventually they like pumped money into the algorithm to get it to create a sustained set of sales for them. So they'd turn off the ads and the book would continue to sell, and then they'd make their money back. That was the way that people gamed Amazon in a bunch of different ways. Now, to do that, you have to really know how to work ads. Ads used to be easier. Now, ads don't seem to work very well, and they're misplaced, and they're really expensive, and they almost never earn back. So that would be okay if an ad didn't earn back if it ranked up your book. But what happens is that the first page of Amazon has so many ads that your book basically has to be ranked at number 1 for anyone to buy it organically, buy it based off of Amazon's suggestion. Otherwise, they're looking 10, 20 pages deep to find your book, which is still a top 10 book, because there's so many ads and the search is so messed up on Amazon, and it continues to be. So it just doesn't work. And lots of other things that used to work in the past just don't work anymore. One of them is email marketing. Like, I have a big email list. You should be on it. dvspress.com/list. dvspress.com/free-book. The engagement I get from emails is really low, and the sales I get from emails is also really low. So even though I have a big list, virtually nobody opens up the email, and almost nobody clicks anything in it, and then even fewer people will ever buy something from it. It's like, so how the hell do I sell books? I mostly sell books like this, face to face. Like, hey, I'm going to give you a link for a book. Y'all can buy it. What book should you buy today? Let me give you a good one. All right, City of Silver. This is a great adventure story with a little bit of romance. It's a fan favorite. Y'all should buy it. You can also buy, or you can get it for free this month, Eyes in the Walls. Another fan favorite. Horror book with a twist ending that very few people see coming ahead of time. So anyway, ever tried AdWords? No idea what it looks like for books, but I did some work with them. Curious to know what CPC would look like for books. It's really bad. So AdWords is pretty terrible for books, and the reason has to do with where AdWords gets displayed. So AdWords is more or less like the Google, like doing Google banner ads and stuff. And the reason they suck is that you're rarely selling an essential product. Like, it'd probably work better for nonfiction. But fiction advertising just doesn't sell unless you are in the context of somebody looking for a book to buy, or you're doing something more social. They just don't work that well. I've experimented with them. The the cost per click is very good, but the cost per showing is very good, but you're going to get virtually no sales out of it. It's really bad. Facebook used to be really good, and I don't know how it is now because I don't really use Facebook ads, but you used to be able to really highly target people based on their interests. So Facebook ads is usually a pretty good and fairly effective way to advertise your book. But that's the thing about advertising, though, is that just because you advertise it and people click it and they buy a book from Amazon doesn't mean that you are going to make money on it. It may cost you more to get that click than what you end up making on royalties after all is said and done. A lot of stuff on Amazon, the cost per click is like 35 cents. Well, if I'm selling a 99-cent novel, that's the entire profit of the novel is that 35 cents, right? If I'm paying for them to click it and you don't buy it, you look at how many clicks do you get to get someone to buy it. Maybe it takes 10 clicks for someone to buy one book. That would actually be pretty good, I would say. Let's say if you're doing you have all your ducks in a row, you get 5 clicks, 1 buy. You're doing really good. Believe it or not, that's a really good ratio. 20% buy. A lot of people kill for that. So your cost per click is 35 cents. You get 10 clicks, 2 buys. Okay, you spend $3.50 to have 2 people buy your $2.99 ebook to make $4. So you've made 65 cents total. You're still in the black. But that's if you're doing everything perfectly. Is it reasonable to assume you'll do everything perfectly? What's more likely is that you'll do all the AdWords stuff and you'll get 2 clicks a month. You'll get 2 or 3 clicks, even though you're doing all the keywords right, because Amazon stuff just doesn't work that good and your ad doesn't look that good and people don't want to click it and it's showing the ad in the wrong place. So the sponsored ads don't get clicked and then they stop being showed because they're not being clicked. And before you know it, you got a dead ad and you've spent money and not made any sales. And so you duplicate, you make 100 ads, 200. There's people who make hundreds of ads for their books and try out millions of different things. That's like a 30-hour-a-week job advertising. How many hours are you going to spend trying to magically milk the advertising goblins and spirits inside of Amazon to get them to show your book to people? And is it going to be worth it? For most people, it's not worth it. We're starting this as like it's a side job. It's a side hustle. It's your creative work. It's not you trying to manage a Fortune 500 business or sell a big time corporate product where you're moving hundreds of thousands of units. You're trying to sell 100 copies of a book. So it just doesn't end up working that well. So when I say book marketing is dead, I mean most of the old ways, the tricks that people had for just making your book sell are not particularly functional. I see more and more gurus are like, I'm not going to help people with this because they're just going to lose money on their book. Like none of this works anymore. It only worked for a little while and now everything's broken. It doesn't work. So there's that. Book marketing's dead. Let's take a step back though, because what I usually get in terms of questions about marketing books is, how do I market my book? Here it is. Here's my book. Boop, boop. I'm like, oh, you have a book. When you say market, what you mean is advertise to get people to buy it, right? When you say marketing, you mean advertising, but marketing is a lot more than that. Marketing isn't just making ads and learning how to do that, which is a whole extra job, like I said, but it is knowing what kind of product people want to buy. So if you're asking the question, how did Apple market the iMac in like 1999 to be successful? You're still like 3 steps ahead of where you should be. The question is, what product did Apple make and who did they make it for? And then how did they find the people that they made the product for? And why was it so perfectly matched to their needs and desires? You have to think holistically about your product. So when people say, here's my book, how do I market it? It's like going, okay, well, you wrote a book that you wanted to write. Now you have to find people that want the book that you wrote. And there may be very few of those, let's say. So what they are thinking in their head is like, I'm going to convince people to buy this book who don't want it. Or there's more people out there that want my book than is what is realistic to think there is. And so when you're thinking about marketing, the first thing you really have to think about is like, what product am I making? Is my book a product that people are going to want, and who's going to want it? And then think about, how am I going to connect with the people who want that book? And then you're on the correct path of marketing, saying like, how do I market my book? And you have a book. It's like going, how do I win a foot race in a suit of armor? It's like, well, that's quite the challenge. How do you market your, because I've been there. Like, how do I market my samurai fiction book? Turns out there's very few people who want to read samurai fiction. Even though it's a hit idea, there's not a lot of people reading the books. That's just reality. I can have a number one bestseller in a category that doesn't exist, which is, Japanese historical fiction, and be like the best known book in that category and still sell almost no copies. That being said, Muramasa has over the years moved a lot of copies, but it's not something that would be, a big hit. But I didn't realize that when I was writing it. I just wrote what I was passionate about, and that's fine when you're starting out and when you're early in your career. Facebook is really cheap for all the various metrics, but don't know how that translates to actual sales. You will get some sales, mainly because if you're able to target your ad really specifically, you're getting to people who really would like your product. And if you're able to do that accurately, then yeah, you can get a lot of sales. It's really one of the only places that you could still get some decent return on advertising. You could try YouTube ads, but I haven't experimented with that. So that might be another one further down the road, is YouTube ads. Is the mailing list traffic a problem among your writer friends too? I'd love to invest in building my list. It's not a good idea. Now, I wouldn't say it's a bad idea. I would say don't expect it to be the home run that it was in 2010. In 2010, having somebody's email meant you could sell them a lot of things and you had access to them. But you have to think about where email sits in the noisy social media environment from post 2010 and even post 2015, right? So people have a lot more things demanding their attention, including things in their email. Email is mostly correspondence for serious things and a bunch of advertising. Like, brands love to have your email so they can send you ads. So you're among the group of people that are in the ads. And Google will actually filter your message into the promotions tab. So people will only even see it if they're wanting to look at their promotions tab and see what's for sale, right? And see what kind of things they want to buy. And there's nothing wrong with that. But the point is that, like, people used to be like, you get a list of 10,000 people and then you write a book and you only have to get 10% of them to buy a book and you have a bestseller. Yeah, you can have a list of 10,000 people and you're not going to get anywhere close to selling a book to 10% of them. You'd be lucky if you get 10% to open your email if you have a list of 10,000, because most of those people that are on the list join the list to get a free book, or they don't know you, they don't care about you, they forgot about you. Your email gets lost among 300 other advertising emails. So you get maybe 10% who even open it, and of that you get like 5% who actually decide to buy the book. Well, that's 2.5%. You sell what of 10,000 instead of 10%. It's way less. You sell 250 copies, which is pretty good. Honestly, 250 copies is a significant number of books these days. I think like 25% of traditionally published books don't even sell 12 copies. So you're doing pretty good with 250 copies. But the point is, it's not the big home run that it was before, because people's emails are more cluttered than they have ever been before. It's really hard to get through that noise. It's still worth it because you can get around many problems with social media. Like, people might see a viral post or a viral video and then think of your book from that, but they're not going to maybe see your email, and they'll see your email easily, but they're not going to see like your other random post that's like, hey, I have a new book out. Like, if I come out with a YouTube video that says new book is out, I'll get like 200 views. If I come out with a YouTube video that's like Star Wars sucks, I get 50,000 views. So there's a huge discrepancy between content and things that you would normally put in a sales email as far as like content goes. So having the ability to just email someone is still really valuable, but it's not the home run hit. It's not as simple as build your list and sell your book through your list. People will get annoyed, in fact, if you send out too many emails and they'll unsubscribe from you. I've learned that as well. Facebook generates enormous numbers. I think we're going to have an ad in a second here. So I love you guys. Facebook generates enormous numbers, but struggles to actually convert those into buys. In part, I think it's in way overfocused. I don't know if it's overfocused, but you have to think, you have to get people off a site. It's actually really hard to get people off of a site and to another site. Very difficult. Run into this with Twitter is they're like Twitter suppresses all of the external links. Yes. And then when you have the external link and people see it, they often don't click it. And when they do click it, it comes in like a sub window of Twitter. So you never actually leave Twitter. The social media companies don't want you leaving their site. They don't want you to do it. They want you to stay on your site where they can make money. I'm with some mailing lists. Most of them do a good job of reminding me when a new release rolls out. Yeah, that's what I usually use for it. Or when I'm offering a value or announcing something, I try to keep the emails kind of limited because, I just don't want to oversell people on it. What I'd rather do is have the email link to stuff like, here's a new Substack article, here's a popular recent video, in addition to another announcement. Hardwick Bento, how can you send me the link to the Discord? It's all supposed to be like automatic, but you can email me and I'll create a custom invite. stu@dvspress.com. I'll just create a custom invite for you. There's apparently some steps you can do on Discord it should show you servers you can join that you're a member of. But if it's not doing that, or that's confusing, or it's like a hidden feature, and I haven't figured it out totally because I'm new to this, and I apologize for that. But I will send you a link for that. Okay, so just email me, stu@dvspress.com, and then I'll send you a custom link. My email on my phone right now has over 20,000 unread emails. There you go. I'm sure mine is just as bad. Over time, people end up on way more lists too, so more and more noise. In my day job, some lists get around 45% open, but most in the 15% range. Yeah, I think that's about right. My lists get a little bit higher than 15% open, more like 30, 35%, which is pretty good, all things considered. But yeah, you have to consider that you're competing with a lot of other noise there and a lot of other things that will get people's attention. And so I'll talk about this in a minute with some different approaches to gaining an audience and actually marketing your book that is not what we would traditionally think of as advertising and marketing. Yeah, depending on the audience. Some of them are aging out or spending money on other needs that rather than just books. Yeah. Star Wars sucks. Read about it in my new book. There was some author that came out with a whole book about how The Last Jedi was bad. I don't remember who it was. It was someone who was actually well known. I was like, I can't imagine writing a book about that. I would be embarrassed personally. I didn't like Last Jedi, but I've done plenty of content and essays on it. Putting on a book just seems like I just can't imagine doing it. A recent Amazon glitch accidentally exposed that while self-published authors are only allowed few keywords, Amazon allows TradPub books thousands of keywords. Dale L. Roberts made a video about it. Interesting. I hadn't heard that. But even those thousands of keywords don't necessarily translate to people seeing it because of the way that advertising works. People used to use thousands of keywords for ads, and it still wouldn't do anything. I noticed your DVS emails go to the promotion folder. Fortunately, I recognize your name on the visible header. And sometimes your emails do reach my inbox. Yeah, not Amazon. Google's really good at filtering those. I just sent you an email. Okay. I'll get to it in a minute. Much joy for Substack. Yes, I've been enjoying my time there. I haven't written an article in a while. Just hadn't had in my mind something to write an article about, so I didn't do it. Just checked. I have it on my Kindle back when I still cared about... Oh, John C. Wright did it. Yeah. I couldn't imagine writing a whole book. It'd be like writing a book on... I don't know. I couldn't write an anti-fan book. I just couldn't do it. I couldn't exercise my creativity in that way anymore. Any more than talking on YouTube. All right. So let's talk about some ways that you can market that aren't spending a bunch of money on advertising. Because I'll give you... Let's say... I'll give you 4 different approaches to marketing. 4. And I'll put this in an article too on the Substack and on the Patreon and whatever. So, option number 1 is brute force. That is spending a crap ton of money on advertising. That's hiring somebody who maybe knows what they're doing, or going, taking the AdWords for Authors course and running ads on every platform and dropping $50,000 into ads. People do this a lot. You wouldn't realize how many authors actually do this, who pretend like they're uber successful, great authors, great writers, or magical magicians of the marketing machine. It's all kind of cargo cult stuff too. It's like, I do this and then cargo comes, you wouldn't imagine how many of them actually spend almost all of the money they make on ads. You'll hear them say that they have $100,000 in revenue. They're very careful to word things this way to be deceptive. I'm not calling out anyone in particular, but pay attention to the words they use. They don't say they make $100,000 a year selling books. What they say is that they have $100,000 a year in revenue. Okay? What is revenue? That means the actual money coming in is more than $100,000. What they don't mention is the money going out. So how did you get that $100,000 in sales? Well, they spent $50,000 on advertising. You're like, well, great. They're still making 50 grand. They're doing pretty good. Yeah, that's great. 50 grand is not 100 grand though. People get excited for 100 grand. 50 grand, it's like school teacher salary. Great. You're making as much as a low tier school teacher. When I was a school teacher with benefits, I made over $80,000 a year. So when people and that was years ago. If I were still teaching there, I'd probably be making over 100 grand a year as a teacher. So keep that in mind, by the way, when people are like, teachers are so underpaid. I'm like, it really depends. I made a lot of money as a teacher compared to my colleagues. And honestly, I did less work than a lot of them. I think because they believed the wrong things about the teaching mission. Not to get too big into that digression. But anyway. So anyway, that's method one. You can brute force your way into it. The problem is most people don't have $50,000 to spend on ads. And what you have to do in order to brute force is you have to have a lot of capital to spend on advertising, to buy lots of ads, to pay people to make the ads for you, to pay people to draw up ads, to design headers, to pay people to get in your account and try out a million different AdWords and A/B test all that, or to do it all yourself. You have to have a lot of extra hours to learn that. So you're investing a lot of time and probably a lot of money. Most indies that I know don't have $50,000 in the bank to kickstart a bestseller book. They don't have a huge bankroll because you have to pay for the advertising first before you're able to make your money on the back end. There's a huge lag. If I want to advertise, if I want to brute force my way to a number one book and I spend $5,000 on advertising, I have to have $5,000 in the bank because I won't get paid any of the royalties for another month. So it's not as simple as like, oh, well, I'll spend money on ads now and then pay for it later. No, you'll have to either have a big credit line or a business with a big loan, or you're going to have a lot of cash sitting around to brute force your way into it. That's what a lot of authors do. Now, one of the things I notice, and I really hate how sleazy this industry is, but it's how it is. There's way more money in author services than there is in selling books. So people will sell a lot of courses on how to advertise, on how to market your book, and people will eat them up and spend thousands of dollars to go to special seminars on how to advertise your book. Meanwhile, the person you're taking the seminar from, you've never heard of him or read his book because he did a certain method where he sold the book to a really specific market. He did the whole marketing thing, and then he dropped a crap ton of money on ads in order to get it there and do all that experimentation. So anyway, that's method one, brute force. Most people don't want to do brute force. Most people are not interested in doing brute force. They want a simple way to sell the book. They want the promise of what Amazon originally delivered, which was, oh, you wrote something special? Let me show it to people who like that special thing, and they buy it. Like it was really automatic once upon a time. It really worked well. So that's method number one. Let me answer some chat, and then I'll get to method number two. John C. Wright's the one who wrote the book, The Last Straw. I haven't read it yet, but I do like the movie criticisms he writes on his blog. They're witty and occasionally laugh out loud funny. I'm sure they're good. I just couldn't bear to write a book about it, personally. Do you think you'd feel the same way if someone wrote a book about how good cinematography is in The Godfather? If there was a whole book about the cinematography in The Godfather, there's no way in hell I would read it. No offense, but like it's just too limited a thing. It's like if someone writes a 50,000 word dissertation on a single Bach piece. There's no way in hell I would ever read that. That's way too specific and way too, like, I love Bach, but I don't need 50,000 words that you wrote about one of his pieces. I just don't need it. I'm not going to get I'm not going to get nearly that much relevant information out of it. Nor is there any piece I love so much that I'm going to read a 50,000 word dissertation on it. It doesn't exist. Right? So there's no way I would read a book about how good the cinematography is in The Godfather. There's no way in hell I could write a book about it. Now, you could write a whole book about cinematography and you could have a chapter on The Godfather. But what you'd probably do if you're writing a book about cinematography is you'd talk about techniques and you'd be like, here's what they did in The Godfather in these 3 scenes. Go watch them and you'll see what I'm talking about. And that's how I do when I'm talking about writing. It's like, here's an example from a book that you may have read that you can go see this technique in action. Right? That's way more what I prefer versus like deep analysis of a single work that just goes on too long for me. I just don't have that kind of investment. Like I see people with, what's that channel? There's a channel that I really can't stand his voice. And I really hate his content, but I know I have a lot of fans in common with him, but I don't remember who it is. He has these uber long podcasts, like 5, 6 hours, 8 hours long, talking about Star Wars. And I'm like, I would fucking kill myself if I were on one of those. I can't imagine having conversations with people that long about one topic. Like it sounds like hell to me. Right? Versus taking maybe it's because I'm a college professor and I know how to construct pedagogy. I know what pedagogy is. I know how to construct a course. I know how to teach a lecture. I know how to construct a lecture. I know how to teach people. Maybe that's it. But like an 8-hour roundtable discussion about one movie sounds horrific to me. Is it Mahler? I think it's Mahler. Yeah. Intensely dislike that channel. The last 2 to 3 years of searching via Amazon has been quite the chore. Yes, the system used to be better than what it is now, especially prior to 2017. It used to just show you the things you wanted to read. It was like amazing. Is it Mahler or Doomcock? There's another one who's always like, Kathleen Kennedy is going to get fired. I have inside sources. It's like, you're really good at lying and getting clicks. And I can't believe people haven't wised up to this now. It's more proof that like Star Wars fandom is a religion. And it's a really bad kind of religion where people have faith in it even though they shouldn't. They're just replacing some real faith with that. Videos are better than books for discussing cinematography. I would love to make more videos about cinematography, but I made a bunch years ago and they kept getting taken off of YouTube because of copyright claims. The studios would remove them anytime I showed even a couple of frames of a movie to discuss a technique. They would just delete the video. Same thing with talking about soundtracks. They're like, why don't you do more soundtrack analysis? Why don't you do more sound design analysis? I would love to do sound design analysis, but you can't put the video on YouTube, not unless you're a really big creator. Only really big creators that have money behind them, or maybe even one of those awful multi-channel network things that used to be a thing, can get around YouTube's horrible copyright system. Whereas I could take those clips and give a lecture in a university classroom and it would be no problem. But I can't do it on YouTube. It's just not worth the effort. The friction is too high. It would take, I'm going to do it and then I'm going to take 6 to 9 months of challenging the copyright under fair use before anybody can see the video. So, I mean, I may do more, but there's going to be a 6 to 9 month lag on any video I do on cinematography because it has to get through, the person who owns the copyright has to say that it's okay for me to use it. It's just not worth it at that point, right? Like, why would I want to make a video that people won't see for 9 months because of the copyright stuff involved with it. And that's how long it took to resolve the copyright. I did an analysis on like Star Wars sound design, like then versus now, and I looked at episode 1 and I looked at like episode 7, and it was like night and day the difference in the sound. And like it took 9 months to get rid of all the copyright on that so that I could make a single cent and that people could even see it. 9 months. Oh, you just challenge the copyright. You just say it's fair use. It's like, yeah, there's a 30-day lag on every single action you do, and the studio will just wait 30 days. They don't want you using anything without approval. So it's awful. Anyway. Doomcock is the fake news peddler. That's right. He was always that way. Mahler's a good critic, but he loves being very thorough. I can't imagine 6 Hours is thorough other than being pedantic, right? So like anytime you take a piece of work, you have to think about the things that are really going to matter about the work. The things that matter, the things that are different, because you're always making a comparison to other things. You don't need to talk about every detail. You need to talk about the details which matter. So if I'm looking at a painting and I want to describe like a Waterhouse painting, right? I'm like, here's the subject. Notice she has this intense stare, like a lot of the females he puts in his paintings. She has a brow ridge that's like this. Notice the brush strokes are like this, and he chooses this color palette with these limited sets of colors, and he constructs the painting in this way. Boom! I can write a 1,500-word essay on a Waterhouse painting that would have in it every relevant piece of information someone would want about an analysis of that painting. You don't need to do more than that. Now, this is something that was trained into me at the university level by some very good teachers. Is like, if you were writing more than you need to write, it is a big problem. So they used to have limits on how much you could write. It's like, you need to write a 3,500-word essay, cannot exceed 4,000 words. I don't want to read that. The professor's like, I don't want to read 4,000 words. If you think you have more than 4,000 words to say about this, then you need to be more selective about what you have to say. Because no one wants to read more than that. And also you run the very big danger of wasting words and stepping outside of what you know into what you don't know. That's the other problem too. It's very easy to step outside of what we know into like what we don't know if we just keep talking and talking and talking. Okay. So, from what I've seen of his content, it's just too long. There's too much. And, he doesn't talk about things that are particularly relevant. He doesn't talk about the stuff that matters. Now, with something like Last Jedi, there's a lot of little things that maybe matter that you can talk about, but like the big stuff it doesn't take that long to talk about. And that's the same really for any movie. Do you want to talk about every detail? Not every detail is important. You have to learn what's important and what's relevant versus what is not important, what's not relevant. And I remember I had a professor who pulled out a student's essay in class, put it up on the overhead projector and read through it and ripped it to shreds, talking about how awful this essay was. And the reason it was awful is that the person was going on and on and on without giving relevant information, because this entire paragraph could be one sentence. All of this stuff doesn't matter. He's adding things that aren't irrelevant to pad out the paragraph. Delete it, delete it, delete it, delete it, delete it, delete it. Editing is so important, guys. So especially when you're writing nonfiction, I'd say editing is more important for nonfiction than fiction. Very important for fiction because you can have some kind of superfluous scene or things like that. But people tend to forgive superfluous scenes if they like the characters. Whereas in nonfiction, if you have a bunch of non-information, people close the book, they close the web page. They start thinking, they get annoyed at how boring it is. So creating good nonfiction content is really about like exciting the reader. Now, like Mahler may have a lot of subscribers, but that doesn't mean to me that he's good compared to like somebody who's like a real essayist in the craft. Do you know what I mean? I personally can't stand his content. Oddly enough, Disney is pretty good about fair use. That's a great point, Hardwick. The other studios are a lot more harsh on it. It's kind of weird. Disney was pretty bad about it a few years ago. You've watched anime before. Mahler's like a good show that goes into filler a lot. He doesn't speak about a single subject for hours. He does go on tangents, yeah. Again, like a 4-hour video, what's the relevant thing? Sometimes I record a video and I see that it's 20 minutes and I'm like, there's no way there's 20 minutes worth of content. Redo. And I will delete it and I will redo that video because I don't want to have anybody have to sit through 20 minutes to get the content of my video. I did one last night where I'm like, I wanted to talk about curly guitar cables and I saw that it was 11 minutes. I'm like, there's no way there's 11 minutes worth of content on curly audio cables, right? So I'm going to redo that. I'm going to make it 5 minutes. There's 5 minutes of content. We could talk about curly audio cables for 5 minutes. There's no way there's 11 minutes worth of things to say about it, I'm sorry, I'm getting on a little rant and a tangent there. Let's go back to marketing. Method number 1 was brute force. What's method number 2? All right, method number 2 is content selling. This is one of the best ways that you can market your book. And it is way more powerful for nonfiction versus fiction, but it can still be used for fiction. As long as the content you're making is tangentially related to the fiction you're trying to sell. I'll give you an example. Let's say I write a sci-fi book. I make a hit YouTube video on why Star Wars sucks. People watch it. They basically, you get 50,000 views. That's 50,000 views of an ad. And you didn't have to spend a single cent. And people like you because you said things that they like. And then they click your book because they think that your book might be good because they liked the things that you said in the content, right? It's a little bit harder with fiction, really easy with nonfiction. I'll give you an example. You have a book on dieting, or you have let's do dieting. Dieting's really good. So you have a book on dieting. Okay. So you write an article on how to diet. People search, how do I diet? And you make how do I lose weight while having a gluten-free diet? Okay. Someone puts it in, they read your article. Oh, looks like really good advice. Maybe I can try this out. I would like more information. Oh, you have a whole cookbook, a whole gluten-free cookbook. Bodybuilding, gluten-free. Click it. Boom. They bought your book because because you gave them free information that they thought was useful. They went and bought your book for money. Hooray! It works really good. So, I got my dogs and stuff running around back there. So it works really, really, really well to do content marketing. It's one of the most powerful ways that you can market any book is to make content that's related to the book. So if you are a fiction writer, it's a lot harder, but it's not impossible. Let's say you're Yakov Merkin, my friend, on Twitter, and he has a new kind of, let's say he has this isekai book, Light into Another World. How does he sell that? Well, he makes videos and he makes articles on isekai. And then people who like isekai, and talk about, negative marketing is a little more powerful than positive marketing. That's a whole nother thing. Like negative content, this thing sucks is going to get a lot more views than this thing is great. So he makes a thing on like why Konosuba is bad. 10 terrible things about Konosuba. And then someone clicks it and they agree with him because they don't like Konosuba either. And then they buy his book. Boom. That's how you do it. Right. So I gave you a really easy kind of slam dunk way to get a couple of views by talking about something that's related to your book. So let's say I have a fantasy book to sell. I can make a book about how Patrick Rothfuss sucks. Or not write a book, make a video about it. I get people who agree with me, who are the people who are probably going to like my book. Right? If you like Pat's book, that's fine. I mean, he has his fans. But if I'm going to make a video about why he sucks, then I'm going to attract people who are probably going to like my book because it's really different from his book. It's much better, of course, but it's very different. So it's the same thing when I'm like, hey, this modern fantasy sucks. Who likes Michael Moorcock? I love Michael Moorcock. Oh, well, you should read my fantasy because it's like Michael Moorcock. Okay, boom, boom. Hey, I love it. It's like classic fantasy. I thought people stopped writing good shit years ago. I like your book, So boom, that's a way that you can sell it. So that's the most powerful way that's not just like brute force is to make content. It's also the most challenging, because you have to think about who wants your book and what kind of content they want. So you have to think kind of abstractly. And then you have to think about how you're going to create like a a good title and a good theme and get it shared, and kind of put it out into the magic of the algorithm and let it gather the people who are interested in that content. Because YouTube makes its money directly off content views, it's pretty happy to deliver content people want to see. Whereas Amazon makes its money from people paying to advertise on its own platform. It doesn't really care whether you see what you want to see. It's true. Google's profit motive is a lot more pure, whereas Amazon's is like, well, we'll make you pay us some money up front and maybe you'll earn some royalties on the back end. What do you think about that? And it's like, well, that seems like a shitty deal. And they're like, well, you can't go anywhere else because we have the entire book market. It's like, well, what if I bring people from outside the platform onto Amazon? That's the way that you really need to market now. So when you're doing content marketing, you're bringing people from a platform where you can actually get traction in social media. You can get traction in the algorithm. You're bringing them over to Amazon. So the last question you have to ask there is, why are you selling your book through Amazon in the first place? Usually it was because like, oh, well, Amazon shows my book to people who want to buy it. But if they're not doing it, then there's not really a reason to be on Amazon. But so that's why eventually all my books, you can buy them from Patreon. All of them you're going to be able to buy on BookFunnel. All of them you're going to be able to buy on my website. I'm going to build that up because the whole Amazon thing, what I was trying to do is, okay, it's way too expensive to do brute force. I'll bring people from off the website onto the website. They'll buy the book, boom, it'll rank up, and then Amazon will sell it for me. Now that worked. That worked great in 2017. It worked great in 2017. I sold a lot of books. It worked great in 2018. I sold a lot of books. It worked okay in 2019. I sold a lot of books. 2020 didn't work at all. I sold books because people, I still had an audience, right? So it doesn't work to rank up your book and make it stick. So you should just sell the books like through Patreon and keep more money. Sell the books through your website and keep all the money instead of splitting the royalties with Amazon. Yes, still publish it on Amazon. But at this point, even though the royalties are way higher on Amazon, it's probably better to go wide just for money. Just because you'll make more money going wide if you have an audience that's off of Amazon at this point. Anyway, I don't mind extra character moments, but not at the beginning of the book when I have no investment whatsoever. Many books start off with details I don't care about because it's super character heavy. There you go. If the blurb gets me to take a look at the sample, most samples don't end up catching my attention enough. Yes, Fiona Wolf has a great example of here's your basic sales order of sales. And this is going to matter. It's basically going to be the same no matter what marketing approach you're using. Somebody sees a book cover. It looks like something they want. Maybe they see a description related to it if it's like an ad. They click on it. So if the book cover is good, that's why your book cover's got to be good. And it's got to communicate the genre. That's the most important thing. It's not just like, does it show the character from my book as I imagine her? That doesn't matter, actually. What matters is that the person sees it and knows that it's in the genre that it's in, that it's a fantasy book or something else. So they click it. They read a blurb. The blurb is the description. It's an intro to the plot. Our hero, Daniel, has to go do something important. The bad guy, Thomas, wants to stop him. Will he be able to stop? Will he be able to get past Thomas and do the important thing? Read more to find out. Every blurb is that. That's every blurb. Okay. What do they do next? Well, they do one of two things in a couple of orders. They'll read the blurb. They'll look at the reviews to see what other human beings think about it and what kind of extra info they have. Oh, this really reminded me of Tolkien. Oh, great. I love Tolkien. Maybe I'll like this book. This reminded me of Tolkien, and I hated that. Oh, I hate Tolkien too. I don't want to read this. He spends way too much time describing grass. Well, I like descriptions of grass. I'll probably like it, right? So even the negative reviews will contain bits of information that will help people make a sale, help you make a sale. Then they'll read the sample. They're going to read the first page. That's why it's important to begin a book strongly. And not all my books begin as strong as they could, but having a good beginning to a book means, oh man, now I really want to read more and find out what happens. So it's not the most important thing, but if you get to a point and the first book like completely lets down the reader, you lost the sale. And the problem is with the book, it's the way you wrote the book. It's not your It's not your ad copy. It's your book. That's the other thing about marketing. You have to write a good book and have it be good and have it be something that people want to read, not just have good ad copy, or it ain't going nowhere. Is it possible to make a little extra money on book sales by putting Amazon affiliate links to your own books on your site? Or is that something Amazon would frown upon? As far as I know, it's not disallowed, but I don't know how much extra money you make from that. So I can't give you a firm answer. Like, it might be a couple extra cents. And if you're selling a lot of other, Amazon affiliate stuff usually makes money if you're selling valuable things. Okay, I should be an Amazon affiliate. Hey guys, check out these pickups. Here's an Amazon link. Here's my Amazon affiliate link to buy the pickups, which I'm telling you to buy. People click on them. They spend $400 on the pickups, the guitar pickups. And then you get like a couple dollars from that. You get like $2, all right, or whatever it is. I don't remember how much it is, but you get a little slice of that. Totally worth it. A book that's $10, it's like, yes, I made an extra 3 cents. I mean, it might be worth it in volume. It's not worth it if you are already doing Amazon affiliate stuff. It's not worth it. You might as well do it. But I think as a way of like, can I increase my royalties by using a trick? Yeah, but it's probably not going to be as much as you think it's going to be. The other thing is, every time you have a link, an affiliate link contains a bunch of information for Amazon on it. Amazon tracks who's getting to their site from where, which is why I should actually explain this. You should always use clean Amazon links. Clean Amazon links are very short. Amazon.com, and then there's like a bunch of letters and numbers, like eight characters. It's really short. Basically, when someone clicks that, there's no extra info. Like, if your Amazon link is super long, that's a problem. In fact, let me show you guys real quick exactly what I'm talking about, because this is relevant. If Amazon is getting links from you, then they can think that there's something suspicious going on. Somebody is sending the same weird link from this person, from the author. It keeps getting sent here. Are they trying to scam the system? They may flag it, right? A lot of authors get flagged for doing things like this because they don't quite know how the system works. And Amazon thinks they're buying their own book to try to rank up, which is something that you could do, right? You could buy your own book to try to rank up your Amazon ranking. In fact, I would rather buy my own book a bunch of times than spend money on advertising, because then I could give away the book, right? If it was like paperbacks. If I bought 7,000 copies of my paperback, it went to number 1. And then I gave away 7,000 copies. And then I sold 7,000 more because it was number 1. It might be worth it. I don't know. Anyway, let me give you an example. I can't think of an example. All my links are really clean. So let's say I go and I'll click one of my books that maybe has... I'll just click a random book that's related here. So check it out. Let me show it to you. Let me find my... All right, here it is. Perfect. Okay. All right, here we go. So here's a bunch of related books to Wasting Desert here. We'll click this one. Consort to a Dark Fae. These are sponsored. So these are all ads, right? Someone's spending money for me to see this. So I'm going to click. Someone's going to have to pay for me to click on their book. I don't know why he's advertising book 2. Never advertise a book 2, guys. Don't do it. So Scions of Nexus book 2. Don't add a book 2. Add a book 1 and get people to click through it. Nexus of the Play. So let's take a look at this cover. Not a bad cover. It's got like a gladiator. He looks pretty good. We use this font. I'm not sure about this author font and this purple lettering. It's not how I would do it, but it doesn't look terrible. I would probably have this be not purple. Like, purple is not what I would choose. Like, this says either indie or author made. Like, the author made this and hadn't watched my videos on how to do book cover design. But it's okay. It's fine. It's good enough to sell, and that's all that matters. So book 2 of 3. Don't add a book 2. Let's look up here at the address bar though. Okay, I'm going to bring this down. You guys can see this. Look how long this link is. So this link contains in it a bunch of information about where you came from to get to that. Look how long this link is. This link is insanely long. Don't link your books with this long link. Okay, what you need to do is you'll see that there's an amazon.com/dp/B07JFJN. This is all we want right here. The rest of this reference equals. This is telling you where the previous links that got you there. So if you were to link this, it would show that you got the book from looking at Wasting Desert for some reason. We don't want any of that. We want a clean link. We delete all of that. Press delete. There's your clean link. Okay, that's what a clean link looks like. It's amazon.com/dp and then a bunch of letters and numbers. You can test it. Copy it, paste it. There it is. Okay, so that's your clean link. I'm going to link this guy's book. Book 1 is the advertisement for book 2. Yeah. Don't make an ad for book 2, guys. Make an ad for book 1. Throw all your eggs in that basket. Make book 1 awesome and look great. Okay. Let's look at Scions of Nexus. 3-book series. So let's look at his book 1. Book 1 looks great. Much better lettering on this because of the red. The red looks a lot better. Nexus of the Plains. Scions of Nexus by Gregory Maddox. Sounds like a pen name. Maddox sounds like a pen name. You guys tell me. This is a great thing. Got human elements. We got a sword. We got magic. We know exactly where we are with the genre. Great cover. We've even got a background scene of some people burning a village, which looks great too. So anyway, it looks really interesting. Looks really good. Looks really well done. He's got only 12 ratings. So let's go ahead and maybe you should check out his book. And he could probably use like a sale. And we're going to get rid of this product. You don't need the word product doesn't matter, but we're going to get rid of it. It didn't work. So let's get rid of that reference. Boom, there it is. Okay. So there's a cleaner link for his book. Book 1. You want to throw your ads on book 1, not book 2. Now I clicked at book 2 ad because it still looked okay. So I guess if you're A/B testing your covers, but really, you're just kind of spreading things out. Someone has to go through extra effort to go find book 1 before they can get book 2 and book 3. So, yeah. Anyway, here's this book. It's a good cover, right? I would just advertise this book and focus really hard on getting people to read through the series. Book 1, book 2, book 3, and do it that way. This book's been out a while to only have 12 reviews and have such a good cover image. Like, this cover image is really good. So this is an example, right? Let's actually take a look, because I think being out this long and only having 12 reviews is unfortunate. You know, some of my least popular books will still have only like 12 reviews or ratings. And I kind of know that with some of the books, like with Al Shafalda. I'm like, no one's going to like this because it's so far out of the mainstream. And I do that sometimes. So anyway, yeah. This is a great cover image. Okay, I click it because I think the cover looks good. 20 years have passed since the Battle of Nexus. Although the forces of good prevailed, evil never rests, and bitter hatred spurs an overwhelming desire to destroy the Lady of Twilight and wrest Nexus from her control at all costs. All right, so we have the conflict. We have characters, Terran and Elias, the sons of legendary heroes. This is great. When war, driven by the friend Nesnis's thirst for revenge unexpectedly engulfs the kingdom. The Fiend. Terran and Elias are forced onto the path of adventure under circumstances they never envisioned. It's not a bad blurb. It's okay blurb. The first book of an epic fantasy series from the author of the Nexus of the Plains trilogy. So this is like his second trilogy that he did. It's great. All right. So anyway, you can do everything right and have a great cover, and then people still don't buy your book. It happens, guys. It sucks, but it happens. The race is not to the swift nor the battle to the strong. But time and luck happen to them all. For fans of R.A. Salvatore and Ed Greenwood, Well, I like R.A. Salvatore, so maybe I'll like his book. I don't have Kindle Unlimited, so I don't know why it says read for free. But I could buy it for $3.99. I would actually price book one. I don't know. I tend to price, if I have like a good long series, I don't, I tend to price things as like pretty low on book one. $2.99 or less. It doesn't matter that much, but you don't want someone to hesitate and be like, I don't want to give this guy $4. Maybe it sucks. It might suck. I don't want to do $4. But like $2.99 is a good one. $1.99 or $1, 99 cents. Then you make your money when people buy book 2, book 3 at an increased price. Make book 2 $4.99, book 3 $4.99. Is it good to publish under a pen name that is a ghost online in terms of general discussion and opinion sharing in order to cautiously choose what is publicly known about you under that name? Great question, Hardwick. It really depends. It really depends what you're trying to do. There's no correct or obvious answer. Okay? No correct or obvious answer. Because that brings me to marketing strategy number 3. It's kind of like content marketing strategy, but it's not. It is the politics strategy. So what you do here, you make content, but it's political content. And people don't buy it because they like what you're doing. They buy it because they agree with what you said. So if you're going to do politics marketing, no, you don't want a pen name that's an online ghost. You want a pen name that is as well known as possible on as many different places as possible. Because the way that the sales channel for the politics approach is to say things which are provocative but have a political message and get people who agree with you to buy your book because they agree with you or whatever product you're selling. So a perfect example of this, there's so many, but I would say the best example, recent example I can think of is Eric July and his little comic books. These comic books, I haven't bought them because having seen the inside of them, they don't provide me anything that I would want. I would not consider them good. Now, this is not that they're bad. They are on somewhere around the same level as most Marvel or DC books, which to me are not high quality either. That's what it is. Nobody bought Eric July's book because they liked the comic story that was in it. They bought his book because they agreed with him politically. They liked what he said politically, and that was a way for them to show support. Before you dogpile me, this is how Marvel sells their books too, guys. It's very common. The smaller the market, the more you may have to rely on things other than just having a good product. So the political method, what does that look like in Marvel? Well, they have a bunch of feminist comic books. They have a bunch of feminist messaging, and people will buy the books because they agree with the artists who are making the books, the writers and the artists who make the books. This is why Marvel sells so many book ones of a series and the rest of the books don't sell. And it's because people didn't really care about the characters or the series. They were buying the book because they agreed with the messaging. They got excited. Here's a trans superhero. And they all went and bought book 1 of the new trans superhero series. And then they didn't buy books 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 because they don't really read comic books and they don't give a shit about them. What they actually cared about was the political messaging that was there. So no, I don't think Eric July is a bad guy for monetizing his political messaging and political clout by selling a comic book. It's just a common strategy, right? How do you think Sean Hannity is a best-selling author? Is he a best-selling author because he's a great writer? He's a best-selling author because he has a hit talk show and he says the things that people like to hear, and they buy the book because they like what he said on the show. They want to support him. Sean Hannity, who wrote the novel? Was it Glenn Beck? Glenn Beck wrote a novel and people bought it. Do you think Glenn Beck is going to be good at writing novels? I don't think so. People buy it because they like Glenn Beck and they like what he says. They like his politics, so they buy his stuff. Matt Walsh publishes a terrible children's book. Awful. It's a bestseller. Why? Because he says the things people like to hear said. It works on the left. It works on the right. It works on any strategy. The thing is, you got to be willing to be provocative and controversial all the time, and you got to be in that culture war, and you got to be pretending like it matters so much, and you got to be selling everybody on how much politics matters, and this is the most important thing, and you have to buy my book and support me, or the communists are going to win, or the fascists are going to win. That's marketing strategy number 3. And if you can build a following by saying what is really only controversial if you are, basically to set up your Overton window. Here's the far left. Here's the far, it'll be opposite on your screen. Here's far left. Here's far right. You're like, okay, I'm going to say stuff that's over here. Now, have you really pushed the Overton window? Not unless you're Donald Trump and you're like, I'm going to say things that are right on the other side. And then I'm going to move that Overton window. And then it's going to be okay to say the things that I said. Most people are going to be right up against it. They're going to say the obvious shit that baby boomers have been saying for 50 years. And we've heard it a million times. Nothing against baby boomers. I'm saying that this messaging is very old by now. Okay. So it's not me hating on baby boomers. But hey, I remember Rush Limbaugh saying this in the 1980s. You just say that. Oh, he's so right. Imagine if it was reversed. Can you imagine if the roles were reversed? Can you imagine the hypocrisy of the left or the hypocrisy of the right, depending, on you could be on the other side. I'm going to say something that's really far left. You're not going to say we should genocide all the white people. They don't usually say that. Some people will say that, but then they're kind of really stepping over well, that's a bit extreme. Or we should blow up, we should nuke Israel. It's like, wait. Are you on the far left or the far right when you say to nuke Israel? We don't even know anymore. Anyway. My point is, you just say that stuff. You say it consistently. You say it over time. You use the same arguments Rush Limbaugh used in the 80s. You gain a little following because people like what you say, or they like your delivery, or they like you, or they like your ethnicity. I don't know. That's a thing too. I'm not big into Eric's content, but the general consensus is that he says the same things everyone else says, but he's black, and so he's kind of the rare guy out. Kind of like Twins when they had a fitness channel. I just like their attitude about stuff. But people like the Hodge twins because they're like conservative black guys. Okay, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Man, guys, milk that. Blessings to you. I want the Hodge twins to make all kinds of money. All kinds. I want them to make all kinds of gains in their bank accounts because I like them as human beings. And if being black is part of that, boom, that's great. I love you for it. And same thing with Eric. If his ethnic identity is part of his appeal, I think that's fine, actually. A lot of people disagree with me on that, but hey, whatever gets your message out, whatever gets the attention is great. So yeah, I don't think people buy a lot of things because they're high quality, but because of the attachment to the person. So that's kind of marketing method number 3. It's the content method plus the politics. And method number 4 is purely social. So that's your marketing method number 4. Now there's elements of these in everything, right? Like I make some political content. Does that mean people buy my books because they're political? I don't think so, but there might be some people who buy the books because they're political. My books are not very political, but they may like what I said, therefore they buy a book from me, right? It's not my main thing, though. My main thing is probably content marketing. Social marketing. This is where you're selling things to your friends and family. Now, before you write this off, think about how many friends and family you have. Okay. How many Facebook friends do you have? How many cousins do you have? A lot of people have a lot of cousins, man. My wife has 100 cousins or something. It's huge. Including all the first cousins once removed and second cousins. There's so many. If you could just get all them to buy your book, depending on the category, it'd be a bestseller. Right? People buy the book because they like you, not because they like what you said, not because you provided them value with content, but because they like you as an individual. So can you do this as an author? The answer is yes, but you have to be that very sanguine person. You have to have cultivated a large following on social media full of people that like you to be an influencer, right? Or you have to have a big family of people who really know you. So it's either the parasocial, like social media. People buy your book because they like you. They think you are cool. You're a cool, hip guy that has cool looking muscles, and then people buy your book. Okay. Or they know you and therefore you buy your book. Think about the companies that are running big marketing right now, they're doing social marketing. So my wife has done this, right? So she did it with like Usborne Books. Is like, boom, I'm going to sell books to all my friends and make money. And she did it. She leveraged her social relationships, which she had been investing in and developing for years, and found books that those people would want to buy and sold them to them and made money. It's great. She did the same thing with like another set of products, like Norwex products. And so the way that they work, they're like, kind of like pyramid schemes. You have a supervisor and then they get a bunch of people, they get a cut, right? But the whole point of that is like, okay, I'm going to sell to my friends. Oh, you're selling, you can sell to your friends and then I'll get a little piece of that, right? So pyramid schemes are social marketing. Yeah. So it goes back in the old days and it continues forward to now, but social media allows it to be a lot more fluid. Like you can have Facebook parties for your social sales or whatever you're going to do. So social selling is another marketing strategy. It's one that people don't think about a lot for books, but depending on how big your family is and how well developed your social relationships are, you can do it. Now, I don't do it because I learned a long time ago, because most of my friends are artists and musicians, that they don't buy shit. You know, they're the worst people to sell anything to. They could love you and be like, I'll take a bullet for you. They won't buy your book. They won't buy your album. They don't care about it. Sorry. They'll want, you come to their show. They don't come to your show. They don't give a flying crap about what you're doing artistically. They care about themselves. Sorry. Artists are really selfish, and I include myself in that. I'm a fairly selfish person. So yeah, your friends are not always your audience, but they could be your audience. There's nothing to say they can't be. They could be your audience. But it's more about the social relationship. It's about, you're my cousin Vinny and I like you, therefore I buy you a book. Okay. So those are 4 different marketing strategies in the post Amazon algorithm world for books and really for everything else. Let me take a look at the chat a little bit. I know I've been ignoring chat to kind of go on this rant, but anyway. Is it good to publish under a pen name? It depends if you want that attention or not. If you're trying to really separate your political speech from your author speech, yes, do a pen name. If you're worried somehow that like the things you do in the book are going to come back to hit you in real life or have some kind of impact, then yeah, you can do that. Especially if you're starting out, there's no downside. You're like, I do everything under my real name. If I could go back, I'd probably do everything under a pseudonym. Just would. It makes it 1 degree of separation. Someone has to try to figure out your real name. $4 for a book seems like a good deal. I feel like if you get a book from a bookstore, you're looking at $10 to $15 at least. Yeah, but that's just an ebook, and there's no paperback. Like I would buy the paperback because then I have a book, instead of a electronic copy of a book. So ebooks are always priced less than they should be because there's nothing that you hold on to. I don't have any physical books around me to hold up and be like, this is a book. They're all behind me. I've been like filling my shelves out with my own books. I'm sweating under this hat. Someone asked what this hat is made of. Leather, baby. Genuine waxed leather. This is a real wizard hat. My wife wanted me to buy it because I wanted it, and now I have it. It's made by Blonde Swan. You're gonna look him up and be like, I don't think this guy needs my membership money if he spent money on a Blonde Swan hat, but it's a cool hat. Gotta say so. All right. Final point, which is why July brought in Barron and Dixon. Yeah. Hey, man, bring in talent. Man, if you're going to sell it that way, bring in some talent. Do it. Yeah. You make it a good product. So they keep trying to restart the same character 5 times. It's well known that Glenn Beck uses ghostwriters. As he should. Now, I'm going to say something controversial. You can hire ghostwriters, and I don't think it's a bad thing. Anyway, if you'd like to discuss my ghostwriting rates, you can email me at stu@dvspress.com. I don't think it's bad to hire ghostwriters. It depends on what you're doing. Obviously, Glenn Beck is not a novelist. He's not a writer. So almost all of those big talk show guys hire ghostwriters. Even if they're writing a nonfiction book, they're not actually writing it. They're working with a ghostwriter who is an expert at the written word and knowing how to organize and construct a book to make that book as good as possible. A good ghostwriter will tell you that the ghostwriter is not writing the book for you. Rather, they are taking your ideas and making them into a book. So a good ghostwriter sit down and, okay, what do you want your book to be? What are we going to write this book on? We're going to write it on 7 steps to perfect nutrition, right? And we come up, or, I want to write a book about nutrition. Here's my ideas. Spend time talking to the ghostwriter. The ghostwriter will be like, okay, cool. I have an idea how to organize it. We'll call it this. And then, okay, here's the things. And then they talk about each section with the author, and then they write it. And then the author reads it, gives feedback. You do a couple revisions, and boom, you have it. So it's really about the author's ideas being practiced by a writer, just like how you would have a writer and a director and a producer for a movie. You're kind of farming out the putting the words on the page part of it. I don't think it's bad to hire ghostwriters. I wish people would be more honest about it, like put the ghostwriter on the book as well. But it's a really common practice. And why not? If you have an idea for a product, you want to make it as good as possible, hire the talent to make that product good. You know what I'm saying? That's how Jerry Doyle of B5 fame sold his book about working in Hollywood. He had a radio talk show that was pretty popular. There you go. Hans G. Schans doubled his crowdfunding after getting kicked off Kickstarter and getting featured on Fox. There you go. Boom. Politics at work. My politics are way beyond the Overton window. I think I would just piss off everyone or get banned, in which case that's not a good strategy. Notice the people who use the politics strategy don't get banned. They know what would get them banned, and they just don't cross that line. Strategy number 3 is the challenge for me with my channel. Star Wars has been my controversy topic, but few of these listeners will get my music. Yeah, that's the thing. Is like getting views that's related to what you want to sell. That's the hard part. I can make a popular video on why you can buy real steel razors. Does that mean people buy my book? No, they don't, but they watch the video, That's a topic I just wanted to make a video on. Sometimes I make videos just because I like to make them, right? Not because I get anything from them, but because it's something I care about communicating. When I'm controversial about art, that's where I get my music listeners. So I'm sticking with it, and it's great because I love talking about art. Yeah, what kind of controversial music posts would I make? It's like an easy one, and I may make some of these, like the Beatles, the most overrated band in history. I make a video about the time Aerosmith got fired from their own album. This actually happened back in, I think, their second album. The producer came in and got 2 studio cats to jump in and play all the parts because they were too sloppy. Joe Perry and whoever the other guy was, they were way too sloppy on the record. So he hired studio guys to come in and rewrite the songs and play all the songs. So they got kicked off their own record. Kind of like ghostwriting, but the point was no, we have our money's in this. We need to make a good record, and you guys are not up to snuff. I'm gonna have these guys come in and play the solos, and you guys got to get better. Daniel Green, fantasy YouTube book channel. His Kickstarter made over $250,000 for his latest release. There you go. I don't want to do political marketing. Don't do it. It's an option. I want to market mainly based building sort of a philosophical retro image to bring fans into the type of fiction I write in certain past eras. That's great. Just focus on that and don't worry about being political. You don't have to be political. You can be slightly political and it doesn't matter. But there's people if you're looking at someone like Matt Walsh, why I find him so boring is that his takes are so utterly boring and predictable. But people like them because most people are boring and predictable. Hey, we're all pretty boring and predictable when you get down to it. And then people buy the book, even though it's bad, even though it's a terrible, terrible children's book. Artists are the worst. That's why I quit Facebook. My college friends always talked about how important art is. I say, well, here's my track. Nothing. Hot Fudge Sundae you didn't make? 100 likes. There you go. Make a song about how bad Star Wars is. Star Wars. Those near... Wait. Someone already did that one. I busked for a while. Those who had the I love art look never tipped me. Those who looked like they couldn't care less about art were those who gave me the money. Isn't that weird? Something I noticed. It's like why I can't do social selling with my real life friends is that I know too many artists. And they're awful. And then my family's kind of the same too. It's like, why would I buy your book? You're not an author. It's like, I published 20 books. I'm not even a new author. I'm not even new at this. I'm old at this. You can't be a great author because I don't know any great authors. How could you be a great author? I know you. Have you ever seen any artwork by Macarius on DeviantArt? I don't think so. He does commissions pretty cheap and has made some great covers. I brought Milton Lane's Island to the Lost largely because of his art. That's great. You know, if you can find people who do great art, like cherish them and use them, you know. Depending on what genre you're in, like painted covers do really well. It's an expense thing. You know, how long is it going to take you to make the money back from the art that you bought? Some of the most popular songs about basically digs about things or people in the artist hates. Yeah. Mom is reading Ishii's book, Boobs of Steel, because the cover charmed her so much. With Linda Carter as Wonder Woman front and center. Fun. Yeah. All right. We're kind of running out of time. So just to, I guess, what's my word here? Summarize. There we go. My 5th grade teacher is very happy that I finally remembered the word summarize. Just to summarize, you know, what we're doing here. These are all pre-mastered tracks. Sorry. Trying to find my... There we go. Trying to find some music to cue up for the end here, because I don't want to try to play more weird music here. Not sure what I did with it. Oh, here we go. Anyway, let's summarize. 4 paths to marketing. Okay, first of all, book marketing is dead. So the old ways of like pushing your book up to a rank and getting the algorithm to sell your book for you on Amazon, that stuff just is not working very well anymore. You may have to look outside of it at Patreon and stuff like that. Other ways of monetizing what you're doing. But here's the main methods of marketing. Number 1 is brute force. You just spend money on ads and rank up your book enough to where people buy it. Chances are you'll lose money. If you do it really well, you'll make money, but you have to have a lot of money to start with. You have to be willing to drop a ton of money into ads. It's one of those things with ads, you may get a lot of experts say, don't even bother advertising unless you can spend $1,000 on it. So you got to have a pocketbook ready if you're going to brute force it. Number 2 is content marketing. You make content that's related to your book and sells your book. You have a diet book, you make content about your diet plan. You have a fiction book, you make content about the genre of fiction that your book is in. Number 2, so that's number 2. Number 3 is politics marketing. You get people to buy your book because they agree with the things you say, not because your content is related to your book at all. So they buy a thing from you, a piece of merch. You could sell merchandise too, guys. So you could think more diverse than just books. You could sell t-shirts. That's what the Hodge twins did. I have a Hodge twins t-shirt. You go get a t-shirt from them and support them by buying a t-shirt, and then you have a cool t-shirt, right? So you basically have a merchandise sell, and people buy it because they like what you say. They agree with it and they feel like they're supporting their political cause by buying it. Here's my comic book about feminist topics. Oh, great. I like feminist topics, therefore I'll buy it, and I'll probably put it on a shelf and never read it. And people do this with their RPG books a lot. Oh, I'll buy this RPG book, and they buy it, comes in the mail, they put it on the book, they never play the game. Sorry. Maybe they browse it, they look at the setting, and then they put it on the shelf and never play it. And they go back to playing 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons. Okay, so political marketing. Number 4 is social marketing. That's where you're selling to friends and family, people you know, people who buy things because they like you and because you're selling something, not because they like the thing you're selling or it's really special, though that helps. You really want to be able to sell things that they feel like are useful or special, but they buy things because it's you. Those are the main ways that you market. Okay, so that's our stream for today. We're about out of time. Hopefully this has been useful for you. Thanks for chatting with me and giving me feedback. Like I said, it's easy to sound critical about certain kinds of political marketing. Like obviously you may gather that I don't like Matt Walsh. I have nothing against Eric July. I don't think his comic book is like exceptionally good. So it's just then, average or maybe slightly worse than like a lot of Marvel books in terms of its quality, but it's not any worse than the other stuff that's out there. Why did it sell so much? It sold a lot because people want to buy something to support Eric July, not because the book is good. There's a lot of books that sell virtually 0 copies that are going to blow it out of the water in terms of quality. I'm just being real, guys. And I don't hate people for doing that. You want to make an impact. You want to make some more money. You do things like sell your tie-in comic book or whatever it's going to be. Yeah. And clean links. Yes, use clean links. That way Amazon, it doesn't, they will basically it'll mess up like your also bots and things like that because it'll be a link from your account rather than a clean account. There's a bunch of weird little information that gets fed into their algorithm when you don't have a clean link. You want it to be clean so it's just really with the person's account. Anyway, there's that. Have a great one, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Channel memberships are open now. You can hop on and get free ebooks. I will probably be emailing links for those until I figure out a really efficient integration for that. So bear with me as I figure out the whole process to make it really good and make sure everybody's getting their value out of it. That's what really matters to me. It's not like just support me because you like me. It's no, the channel membership or the Patreon membership will have benefits, and that's the main thing I want to get across. Did I link some books to buy? I don't know if I did. I'm going to have more books coming out. Stuff is coming off of Vela. I'm pulling stuff off of Vela and making it just available to buy because I like that. Wait, did I link Patreon? Yes, I did. Okay. Why don't you buy City of Silver? You guys like romance stories. You like fantasy. You like guns in fantasy. That's City of Silver. I wrote this book for my wife. There's the romance. And I used to write her a chapter at a time and send it to her when we were living in different cities for a while, before we got hitched. So there's the backstory of the story of the art. And it was one of the first books I wrote. It was terrible when I first wrote it, but my wife loved it. But I revised it into something that's really good. Now everyone likes it, and they enjoyed the first thing. It's this first book is the shortest of them, and I wanted to keep it short and sweet, get you interested in it, and sell you on book 2, as some people said. It's 310 to Yuma, but fantasy. Gaming stream soon. Yes, I'll maybe do that this week. I'm not sure when I'll do I'll probably do it Saturday. Do Wednesday WriteStream, Saturday game stream. Maybe stream games at night too. I'm still trying to figure out what kind of schedule I want to do going forward for this. And then I still have to have room. I'm going to do a Saturday stream probably towards the end of the month. That's going to be members only. If there's only 2 people that show up, then I don't know, I'll give away something to those people. We'll see what's up. Anyway, take it easy, guys, and I'll see you all next time. Have a great one.